The Reality PSA deals with one side of tragedy that all parents certainly worry about as their children start to drive on their own. I want to go over one more very important driving reality right here, and it involves responsibility, ownership, and conscience with regard to collisions and crashes. I'm going to use the collision scene chapter from the Driving Zone 2. This chapter is another very popular learning tool for driver education teachers. Please have a look. We're going to show a collision scene in this typical suburban neighborhood at a crossroads right here. It's hard enough to drive in these suburban areas when you've got potentially no sidewalks, you've got shrubbery blocking views, you've got houses blocking views. So when you combine that with distractions, you got a big problem.
As you can see here, we have a black car on the main road and a white car on the side street. The black car has no stop sign and is on the main road. The white car is coming to a stop sign on the side street. Let's see what happens. The driver of the white car received a phone call and grabbed their phone off the passenger seat to see who called them. They had made themselves potentially dangerous because their mind and vision had lost track of the coming stop sign. They slammed on the brakes as hard as they could, but the nose of their car ran past the end of the side street and into the main road by just 2 or 3 feet. At that precise moment, the black car was right there and the two cars collided. Let's go back to the driver of the black car who was on the main road. They had looked ahead, believed there were no potential dangers, and decided to change a CD. This choice made them vulnerable. They had overlooked several potential dangers as we see here. As their eyes went down to change the CD, they lost central and peripheral vision ahead. If they had not looked down, their peripheral vision could have seen the white car approaching the junction too fast to stop. During those 2 seconds with their eyes down, they lost the opportunity to brake or react to the problem in any way. The collision between the black and white car is typical of real-world collisions and crashes in the sense that it involves distracted drivers.
We saw 2 distracted drivers come together in a fender-bender collision. We could all assume the driver of the white car would get a ticket for running the stop sign, but we also know the driver of the black car held some percentage of blame or fault, as they were also driving distracted. We asked a few parents their opinion on fault for this collision after watching the scene. These parents assessed 70 to 90% blame to the driver of the white car and 10 to 30% blame to the driver of the black car. Now let's check out the last part of the collision scene chapter.
In our scenario, it's easy to blame the driver of the white car. He ran the stop sign. But just 1 second. Let's change things a little. What if this had actually been this? Yes, this should make anyone think. Remember, the driver of the black car missed 2 seconds of data just to change a CD. No brakes, no evasive steering, no reaction at all.
It all changes now, doesn't it? The driver of the black car did nothing different, but now someone is injured or worse. And in this case, it's a child. We asked the same parents to assess blame for this collision, and the numbers completely reversed. They gave 70 to 90% blame to the driver of the black car and 10 to 30% blame to the parents of the little girl. What we were hearing was an almost instantaneous reassignment of value. Cars can be replaced, people never. During my conclusion of the collision scene chapter in the Driving Zone 2, I say it's not about blame. It's about paying attention when we drive and not being dangerous or vulnerable so that we never get into these situations. The authorities and insurance companies have to deal with fault and blame every day, especially when someone is injured. But we have other realities to consider here. Nobody leaves home thinking today is my day for a collision or crash. But every day in the USA there are 30,000 of them. Yes, 30,000 every day. Over 100 of them are fatal, and over 2,000 people receive life-changing injuries, and thousands more receive hospital treatment. Distracted driving is just like a game of chance. The more drivers play, the more drivers think they can get away with it. Every time you look away from the road and choose a driving distraction, the chances become higher you will have a collision or crash. It's not about if you will have a collision or crash, it's when. Let's think about the two different collisions involving the black car. Different day, different circumstances, different timing, same distracted driving behavior, devastating outcome. When people see the little girl in danger, they feel different. Any normal person would feel different. This scenario is almost unspeakable, but tragically, it happens every day on America's roads. Many parents and adults tell me that the idea of injuring someone in a traffic collision is their worst nightmare. In over 80% of all collisions and crashes, drivers are partially or completely distracted. How would you feel if you knew you were not paying 100% attention to your driving and became involved in a collision where somebody was hurt or worse, whether they were a passenger in your vehicle or not? Drivers who pay full attention to driving, I mean no distractions at all, get into collisions and crashes at a fraction of the rate of distracted drivers. Drivers make choices to drive distracted every day, but none of us ever get to choose the final outcome when it all goes terribly wrong. How parents and adults drive in a vehicle will be seen and learned by children of all ages. We now appreciate that driving is different, and any driving distraction can have tragic consequences. Please don't discount or ignore the information you're seeing in this production. The knowledge here applies to all drivers. Don't take the risk of believing this information applies only to other drivers. Your children will see you drive for up to 15 years before they get their license. If you've been a distracted driver with them in the vehicle, change your driving behavior. Talk to them. Share your reasons for change. Give them a solid chance. It doesn't matter if they're only 5 years old. Separate all smart devices, electronics, and distractions from driving. You are and always will be their biggest driving influence. Not one driving distraction is worth the risk. If we all work together, we can drastically cut down this needless trail of teenage driving tragedy.